Hey folks, it's Brian. I was out most of this past week with my church youth group. We took them up to New York, not the city, upstate New York, to visit some sites and things. And so I was not here Friday for my normally scheduled game, but most of my players were able to make a Saturday change. So we just adjusted to Saturday, and even though it looked like I was gonna get back earlier than planned, it was still run, into and past our normal start time. So we were only able to play. Actually, it's close to 2.5 hours. Now I think about it, but we went past midnight. Um, and live plays in the description if you want to check that out. In this session, most of it was, what are we going to do next? Kind of discussions within the party itself. There's a number of investigative communication, read-write roles that were made. They took the scrolls from the temple to the Lightbringer temple, to the Earth Priestess there. Most of the scrolls the players weren't really interested in, but there was a couple of sections of scrolls. One was all the ones that were on the ground that were opened up, and then a bunch that were in some cubbies above, about where whoever was going through this stuff was standing and walking back and forth. So they got these two sections of scrolls. Lars, the philosopher sorcerer, did some souls of logical mind stuff, meditation, to try and increase his rolls for reading through this stuff to see if there's something he could glean. And now that I think about it, most of this would have been old Theallen, because we're talking about stuff that happened 500 to 1,000 years ago. But we didn't really mess with that with the rolls. Plus, there's Arana, the Earth Priestess, who's traveling with them. And then there's the priestess at the Lightbringer temple, as well as also doing some investigation and stuff. So I made rolls for them. They got, like, through all the number of different rolls we made, they made like 3 crits. So the party got more information than I actually had written down. So I had to make some stuff up on the fly to kind of stuff in there and make some coordination with. A few things that they found out: there were a series of letters between this priestess Tariva and a number of other priests in the area. There was a Yelmian priest in the Grayslands. There was an Angizi, I think how you might pronounce it, priest in Nochet. And what was the third one? No, those are only two that they were able to decide were all tied into this whole thing. Discussing an amulet, things about enchanting it, asking when it's going to show up, announcing a delivery, here it is, that kind of thing. Now, those were all in the cubby itself. Down on the ground were a number of scrolls. One was a report about expedition to Stormwalk Mountain. Another was another report about deaths of members of an expedition. And I put in one of the crits ran to this one, that these guys were killed by a death cult. Then there are notes from a meeting about what to do about a death cult in the area. And then there are a handful of reports from Whitewall, Oldwind, and Jansholm, discussing folks out in the various holdings stuff just disappearing, entire households, that kind of thing. They also, from one of the crits, got information about an Orlanthe rune lord named Torkeler. Really should have been a priest. Or I could switch this rune lord out for another piece of information they got later, but he was from Whitewall. And the way I wrote this in was he was a member of that expedition that was killed. So they gather what information they have, and then they go to, they decide to go to what they were discussed for quite a while. Do we go to Chet? Do we go to the Grayslands? Because this priest here, was within the household or was in the court of the Feathered Horse Queen. So, do we go to Grey's Islands? We try to get, not necessarily talk with her, but, her household, get a hold of the scribe, and who maintains records, that kind of stuff. Although I'm guessing most of their stuff's going to be oral. Or do we go to Nochet and try to track down this Inglesi cult? And or do they go to Whitewall and try to figure out what's going on, with there, or to one of these other cities, Old Wind or John's Home, to see if they can't find records again dating way back to when this occurred. They decided, oh, this is when verbiage of Torkoler came out, and okay, let's go to Whitewall. So they go to Whitewall. They get a letter from the Lightbringer Temple here to the temple in Whitewall. Plus, they've still got Arana with them and their original letter. So they head to Whitewall. They hook up with the Earth cult there. They get put up for the night. They ask for coordination on getting some kind of audience with someone with the Orlanthe cult there. I made some rolls from bureaucracy, administration kind of stuff, say how long is it going to take them to actually get communication rolling. The next day, they're invited to come up and speak with a minor priest, and this priest is kind of a scribe kind of guy. That's his position. So there's some discussion going on back and forth with him. And this is where they found out this death cult, where it was located, because after the incident of the expedition that got killed by the death cult, Whitewall went ahead and sent out a retribution strike, and they shut the place down. And so Larnstay's footprint, there's a northeast corner of that, and apparently this underground cult of Thanatar, Thanatar, he's one of those chaos death deities. That's where it was, and this is where Torkoler should have been. He should have been the Rune Lord that went with the expedition to kill and clean out this cult, right? And that should have been some minor Rune priest that was actually on the expedition that got killed. But we'll figure this out. Okay, so the party decides, okay, we need to go check this out, because maybe this death cult has popped up again. So we start asking questions about, hey, are there any more missing persons reports coming in, that kind of thing. And they find out that, yes, in fact, there are a few missing persons reports that have been coming in. So they're positive that this death cult has been reborn, is back in cahoots with stuff going on in the area. And so they're going to go investigate it. And if with their discussions with the Orlanthe priest, he contracts them, for lack of a better word, to go ahead to a recon, find out what's going on, get what they can, and in compensation for that, the cult will outfit them with any common material type things they may need or want, and possibly even some access to some magic items. So they're kind of hesitant at first about what to ask for, because they're not really sure what they can do. And then somebody starts talking about, can we get some plate armor? Oh yeah, we got plenty of plate armor. You can get that. That's easy, right? So a couple of them get outfitted with plate greaves and van braces, a heavy scale hopper, that kind of thing, helms. And they ask about healing potions, and yeah, they've got healing potions available. They got 6 that they gave the party. And then Lars asked about a magic weapon. Oh, what do you mean by magic weapon? Something that'll hit harder and do some real damage, kind of thing. So they pull out an old broadsword that's got a blade sharp 2 matrix in it. Yeah, you can borrow this. Everything comes back, right, guys? And then he asked about some defensive materials. This is where I was remembering some RuneQuest 3 stuff, where you could enchant using either spirit magic or, in their terms, divine magic, which is rune magic here. You can enchant either of those. There's 2 different enchantment spells, right? There's the spell enchantment for spirit magic to do spirit magic spells, and then there's a spell enchantment for divine magics, or in our case, rune magic, right? The new rules don't have that rune magic enchantment piece. you can only enchant spirit magic spells. I didn't quite catch that till after that spiel. Sure, yeah, we can do this for you. So they have a heavy shield with 5 rune points of shield enchanted into it. And so I'll be treating the same way I treat the Runequest 3 stuff. It has to go back to the temple to get those 5 points recharged. They can't use their own rune points to charge or anything. It's just the 5. And yeah, you can launch all 5 of them at once. Put shield 10 up if you wanted. Or just do one at a time. You shield 1 5 different times. They specifically were asking about like counter magic kind of stuff. And that's one thing I saw that Orlanth had that would fit that bill. It is, helpful as well. But again, only 5 shots. That's it. But still, that's a good hefty number of oh, he also asked about a magic storage crystal, and they had one available. That's 13 points in it, and he's really excited about that because being a sorcerer, a lot of his limitation is how many magic points he can cast at a time to overcome, the double magic point cost for things because he's not mastered in that area or whatever. And so he's kind of psyched about that he'll actually be able to cast a circle of protection and hanging on weapons bane or whatever it is, the defensive spell on that, and actually be able to have something that's worth using. He's pretty excited about that. And that's pretty much where after the whole outfitting thing, that's pretty much where we wrapped it up. So a little bit of role play, a whole lot of player planning. Oh, I got something in the mail the other day. And trying to figure out what to do next. Once that Torkoler piece came out and they got to Whitewall and discussed about the death cult and they've got some records, because close the place down, right? So once all that stuff started to fall together, they go, okay, we got to go check this place out. So then I got some direction, which is good. They've also talked a few times throughout on whoever and however they got the temple raised up out of the silt. Whoever that person is, why they're running around with brew, they've got like 8 days, like a whole week plus ahead of them. And so that was part of the whole discussion on, well, if we go here, it's going to take us that much longer. And if they're already going for where they think things are and they're looking for something they're going to find, and so it'll be interesting on how this timing issue all gets played out and how it ties into the next chapter. So anyway, this is session 15, which is session 2 of chapter 4, a cavern crawl in the Chronicles of Carreen. Happy gaming.